Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Enabling Tomorrow. My name is Tim Metz. I'm the marketing director at KaiOS, and I'm your host for today. And I'm here with Asim Alam. Asim is the CEO and founder of WebDoc. WebDoc is a telemedicine app and service in Pakistan, which he's going to tell us a lot more about. Before this, he worked at Telenor, which is a big carrier. And of course, everything they're doing now with WebDoc is especially relevant in these times with COVID-19. So I look forward to talking about all this with you, Asim. But first, can you give us a short pitch of WebDoc so everybody understands what it is you guys do?
Thank you, Tim, for having me here. WebDoc is a platform which actually connects subscribers with the doctors. So initially, we started on the IVR only because in Pakistan, only 35% people are converted onto smartphones.
So IVR for everybody means you call in through a landline, right, or a feature phone.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a featured phone feature where people can just simply call in and speak to the doctors. We started in 2016. March 8th was our first day. And by now, we have over 7 million customers, which means we have 7 million subscribers throughout Pakistan in every corner who are actually using IVR, a featured phone facility to get connected to the doctors. But recently, in the last year, we actually started the digital where we can actually provide services on the video call also. So the both services, digital and feature phone services, are actually in the market now for WebDoc.
All right. So how does it work? Like when somebody calls the number, what happens?
So first of all, people need to subscribe our services, and that they can do it from any telecom in Pakistan, whether it's Telenor, Jazz, Zong, or any other telco in Pakistan. They can simply dial in, and there are different packages with all the different carriers we have. So once they dial in, a doctor assistant picks up the phone. He actually gets the initial basic information: what is this call about, what you want to speak to, because in Pakistan, there is gender differences. Women don't want to speak to male doctors, especially with the gynecologists and other issues like this, or their private issues. So they want lady doctors. So what we have done is we've actually had doctor's assistant in between who can actually ask the few initial questions, less than 1 minute it takes, and then they forward the call to the right doctor. So for example, if somebody wants to speak to the ENT specialist, they're actually routed to the ENT specialist. Or if somebody wants to speak to a lady gynecologist, they're actually transferred to the lady gynecologist, and so on. All these doctors, the very important part, all these doctors are actually employed by WebDoc. So they are actually employees of WebDoc, sit on our floor. So they're actually available between 9 a.m. in the morning to 9 p.m. in the evening. So we work like 9 to 9, and they're actually on the floor available all the time. It is, at this point of time, it is not an appointment-based service. So you simply pick up the phone and you can call the doctor on demand. You don't need to wait. The maximum waiting time on the phones because of this pandemic, a lot of people actually started using the service. We used to get around 10 to 12,000 calls before the pandemic every single day, which has now increased to 50,000 calls plus every single day. And now we are trying to manage it because the number of doctors have increased, number of doctor assistants have increased. We have actually automated some services where IVR is helping people to just give the initial information before they actually get to the doctors. Because this 2-3 months was really hectic, where suddenly a lot of people actually started subscribing this service. And we being the main telehealth service in Pakistan, holding about 89% of the market, everyone wants to really get connected to us. So we have adopted many ways from IVR to automation, and then we've actually made few layers between the doctors and the doctor assistant to get more information so that the doctors can actually very well help people when they get connected to the doctors.
So yeah, I mean, I'd love to talk more with you about how, what COVID-19, how it is in Pakistan. But before we get into that, can you explain me a little bit more, like how did you get this idea, and how did you go from, you had a job at a big carrier going to being the founder of your own startup, and why this interest in medicine and in the health space?
So yeah, it's a pretty, I'll say it's a story people really like to hear, and I like to tell people.
Okay.
The reason is I always have been, the way Pakistani people have been taught up and they've grown up is that we need to find jobs. Nobody's actually into entrepreneurships. because nobody actually tells you about the entrepreneurships. All we know about business is it's a very risky thing to go into, and nobody wants to go into. So like everybody else, I also started with many companies, working my way through the field salesman, although I was an accountant, but field salesman to the other positions. I joined Telenor in 2000, end of 2014, start of 2015. I think it was 27th of December 2014 when I actually joined Telenor. I joined Telenor as a international remittance assistant director.
Okay.
But soon the company and I realized that I am even better in many of the departments. For example, I started insurance department in Telenor. I was the creative director, so I was responsible to bring in new products in Telenor. So one of my new product was actually WebDoc. So
Okay.
I recommended the board that we should have, the leadership team actually, that we should have WebDoc as a healthcare service to all our 8 million subscribers of Easy Pesa. One of the senior guys.
At that point, was it like an idea on paper, or you had a prototype, or how did you propose that?
So what happened? Because I was the head of director of insurance in the company also,
Yeah.
and Telenor as a company has one of the biggest insurance in Pakistan.
Okay.
So company decided that we should have internal, because we have now the expertise, we should have internal insurance representatives, so who can handle the Telenor insurance in-house. So they gave me the responsibility to actually look after all the employees' health and everything. So as a process of improving health insurance within the company, I thought we should have something like a web doctor, where people, rather than going to a very expensive OPDs in the hospitals, they can actually stick within the company. I was trying to save cost for my company. So they can actually use web doctors. But when I actually tried to introduce this, many of the senior management doesn't really like the idea. And they think, and they were rightly so, because they think we are a telco company, we shouldn't be doing any health. And the previous history of Telenor was that they actually started one health product which didn't really go well. Mm-hmm. So they decided not to go for it. And this is where I was very keen, because I started working on this paperwork, and I can see the idea. I can see that this has a huge scalability. Why we can't do it? If we can bring the price down very low that anybody can afford it, then this is going to be a very big product. So I actually asked one of my senior guys, and I said to him, if Telenor doesn't want to do this product, then I want to leave and I want to start this product myself. And everybody opposed, including my family, my wife.
Yeah, but I mean, what gave you the courage? Because it's
exactly
a big step. Yeah.
Everybody said starting a business, especially at that time in 2017, 2016, I was a director earning pretty decent amount of money. I was sitting on a very decent position in a young age.
Yeah.
There was no point of leaving a job and starting your own business and risking it, especially, the way we think in Pakistan, it's a risky business to get into entrepreneurship. So I thought, well, for somehow I was very sure that if we can bring the price down, in Pakistan, it's a huge issue. For example, in rural areas, over 70% of the rural areas doesn't even have access to the doctor. Yeah. I mean, it's not very limited. They do not have any access to the doctor. Even the areas where they do have an access to the doctors, all those doctors are actually not PMDC certified. It is like a certified government doctors. They're not. They're just sitting, calling them some doctors, and most of them doesn't have degrees. Yeah. And they're just giving medicine out. And because the regulatory body in Pakistan, PMDC, is not very strong at this point of time, so obviously they can't control every village and far rural areas. Yeah. So I was thinking, if I can provide them access through phones, the only thing will be, how would we actually manage to make the price so low that anybody can afford it? So I was always thinking of bringing 1 rupee in the market. So 1 rupee is the minimum price in Pakistan. Anybody can afford it. So then the only thing we can do this was, if we have so many customers, we can make this business viable. So we started with an idea, and I left Telenor, and everyone thought.
What was the exact moment? Like, when did you really decide, like, okay, I'm going to hand in my resignation and I'm going for it? Was there a specific trigger, or like?
Yeah, I mean, I still remember my boss, my line manager, the VP of the Telenor, was Yahya Khan. And he was a super gentle guy. I mean, he always used to support the ideas and stuff. I went to him and I said, I want to do this WebDoc on my own. If you're not ready to do it. And he said, well, we have company limitations, we can't do it. But if you want to do it, I think this could be a great success. So this was the point when I thought that I still remember I was walking back to my seat from him, and I
Yeah.
already thought that I would do it. So when I came to my seat, and one of my colleagues, he's also a very good friend of mine, I said to him, you got an option. Do you want to put some money in? And he was like, well, I'm not leaving my assistant director's job. And he was assistant director at that time.
Yeah.
And he said, I'm not leaving my job, but I can lend you some money. And I said, no, I'll just start. So I started, and after a few days, he wanted to jump in. But at that time, I knew in the first month, so the amazing thing was, we started on the 8th of March, 2017.
Yeah.
30th March, 2017, we have done our break-even. So in 22 days, we were already on the break-even.
So
I knew.
How did you manage that? What did you get in those first month then, like to get to break even?
So before I left, I spoke to my boss. I said to him that I'm actually moving into my own business, but I can provide this service to the insurance customers for a very small price. And the price I put at that time was only 20 rupees a year. So which means they only pay less than a rupee for a month, and I can provide a full year services. Because I was from the insurance industry and I was treating health as an insurance, because I knew that if I get 100,000, 200,000 customers, not everyone is going to call on the same time.
Yeah.
So there is a chance that I can have 100,000 customers, because the insurance subscribers were a lot. So if I have 100,000 customers a month and they only pay me 20 rupees, this becomes 2 million. I can afford few doctors to actually start the business. So, and he agreed, and he said it's such a small amount, he won't survive, but he actually gave me go ahead. And I think this was a push for me. So in the first month,
so you basically had your first customer before you built the product.
Absolutely. Before I actually started the company.
Yeah, but that's very different from a lot of startups, right? Because there's a lot of startups, they're building, and then they hope later that they find a business model. But this is actually kind of the opposite. Like, you made sure you had your first customer.
Yes, that's right. Because I was very confused, leaving a very, very good job in a very good company, in one of the best companies in Pakistan, in such a young age, being director of 3-4 departments and a huge potential and career ahead. Taking this risk, I wanted to make sure that we have some customers. And if I have few, then I'll make the way through. And this is exactly what happened. We got 100,000 customers for the first month, and that's it really. And then we took off from there, and it was never stopping. Now we've got over 7 million customers, which many people thought is going to be a difficult task. So my journey through WebDoc was more about, obviously it was about product development, it was about bringing customers in, but it was more about providing services. It was more about how to bring the price down and how can we actually make sure that this price we're bringing down is sustainable for a very long period. So it's not that it's short term. Like many of the companies I've seen, they come in, they provide services for 1 rupee in Pakistan for the first month, and then they go back to 500 rupees a call, which again is not affordable in Pakistan. Yeah. So,
but it also sounds like you on purpose, which also sounds very smart, that you charge a fee for a fixed fee instead of per call, because as you said, maybe nobody calls 1 month and then you don't have any revenue, whereas you are saying can be a very small fee, but it is a subscription, so you always are getting the subscription, right?
Absolutely. So the whole point was, I mean, I just take my own example. I mean, how many times do I go to a doctor in a month? Probably, once in a year or twice in a year. Only when there is a seasonal change and you have got cough and flu, that's the time when you go to the doctors. So I thought, why would people prefer to come to doctor when, if say there's a fixed fee, they'll go once or twice a year, or maybe once, twice a month. What's the point of having this? Why not have a subscription model on so low price that nobody bothers to pay that amount? So 1 rupee in Pakistan has no value at all. Yeah. Even 100 rupees for a year has no value at all. Mm-hmm. So I thought, well, hold on, this is really, so this means if I have a number of customers, we'll have 1 rupee deducted from their wallet, from their mobile phone, from their bank account. We can have this on an everyday basis. and they're not using us. They will only use it when they actually require it. So this becomes more like an insurance thing. You're actually getting the premiums in, but you're only going to provide services once they actually need it.
Yeah.
So this is where I think subscription model really worked for us. And this is why we're still on the subscription-based model. There are almost 130 companies in Pakistan now providing digital health.
Okay.
But all those companies are actually going on a very high-end model. They charge thousands of rupees for one call. And I just sit down and think, why would somebody pay thousands of rupees for one call when the similar services, same sort of doctors are available for 1 rupee a day, and they can call as many calls as they want for 1 rupee.
Yeah.
So there are many people in Pakistan who actually subscribe it for a day,
Yeah.
and then they unsub it. That's fine. So, I mean, there is a certain number of percentage. They subscribe for 1 day, get their services, and then they unsub it. And I'm fine with this because still there is about 67% of my customers who actually are there for 30 days. So it balances out at the end of the day.
And how do you? Because I read, of course, some stuff before we have this interview, and I read that a lot of the tele-doctor or telemedicine services in Pakistan are targeting more middle class and high end, and you are focusing more on the rural areas. So how do you? I mean, I think a lot of people maybe are not that familiar with Pakistan, but I can imagine that the rural countryside in Pakistan is quite remote. So how do you find new customers? How do these customers learn about? I'm in marketing, so I'm very interested in how how do you get these people to know about you? How do they sign up, and how does that work?
So I'll tell you, when we initially started, because I was from telcos, I thought the franchising model, having your own distributions in different areas, and then you distribute from that particular franchise to the local shops where people can buy your services, like they buy telephone credits and stuff. But that didn't work because this was our first try. That didn't work. So I thought it's best to get involved all these big companies. I should be a value addition services within the telcos, and then telcos should market it because they have an access to 160 million people in Pakistan. So if I get to these telcos and I tell them that your customer can actually have health insurance, digital health services for as low as 1 rupee a day, and it's easier for them to take that 1 rupee from their wallet or from their credit, airtime credit, and we can share the revenue. The first of all, Telenor thought this is a good idea. So they came with me, and we started slow marketing with them because Telenor is a service which is more rural-based service. All the other three telcos in Pakistan are actually more of a urban-based service, but Telenor is the one that is in every little corner of the country. So I thought Telenor is the right choice. So they started using the service, and then the market was there. I mean, nobody had doctors in the rural areas. Imagine if somebody's got a doctor on the phone, and then you're only paying the subscription charge, and the phone call is also free, which means if they want to dial 5 times a day, they can dial it for free, only pay 1 rupee. So their marketing team really helped us. So they went out to every corner of the country, and certainly we start seeing the big numbers because Telenor also became the partner, and they have their own revenue share model in it. But I think Telenor actually wanted to empower the people, and this is the right product for them also. So they wanted to go out in the market and tell people and retain them that we've got better services as compared to others. So they actually started marketing for us, and it was our trigger point. This is where we actually picked up.
Because what I mean, if you look at your let's say your typical customer, what does their life look like? Like, what would happen if they don't have WebDoc? Like, do they do they need to travel far, or they just can't go to the doctor, or there's somebody in the village who might do something, or what? And are they farmers? Like, what does it look like for them?
So I'll tell you, in rural areas of Pakistan, the doctor facility is miles and miles and miles away. So an average villager has to actually travel at least 30 to 40 miles to get connected to a person who says he's a doctor. So even after all this traveling and spending a full day to reach out there, they're not actually getting to the right doctor. So, and plus the affordability is a huge issue in Pakistan. The rural areas average income is very, very low. It's actually lower than the World Health $2. So basically, they are unable to afford any doctor. So $2 is equal somewhere around 300 rupees in Pakistan. That is a minimum one-time fee for a doctor. So the access and the affordability both was a huge issue in the rural areas. The only thing they had was phones, and I think getting access through the phones to the doctors is going to work, and that's exactly how it worked actually.
Yeah, that makes sense. And how are things now with the COVID situation in Pakistan?
A lot have changed. A lot have changed. So uh, because the government was so much involved into this COVID informatics services that they want to provide information to every corner of Pakistan. I think government has done a really good job. They were on every possible mediums providing information services to all Pakistanis. This is where people started getting to know that what is digital doctor, what is telemedicine, how can we actually connect to a doctor over the phone. On the top, all the hospitals have closed their OPDs. So nobody can actually go to the hospital for a normal checkup. I mean, so people started using all these services. And certainly with the media and marketing and stuff, everyone knew that there is a service where you can just pick up a phone and speak to the doctor. I was very lucky because I was actually involved with the rural population. Most of my competitors, they decided to serve only the high class and high middle class and top class. So their prices was so high that an average Pakistani could not afford their prices.
Yeah.
And with the COVID-19, they actually increased their prices. With the COVID-19, what I did, I started providing first 5 calls for free, which means I wanted to help people so they can actually get the information. So I started providing 5 calls for free. So nobody pays nothing for the first 5 calls. But on the other side, they're actually subscribing our services. So once they make the 6th call, they become subscription-based services. So automatically, the number of customers got increased. Our subscription also started increasing, which helps us actually have more doctors on the floor. So, and then the time came when the government actually asked for the lockdown, which means no businesses can work. Even we had to go home. And I thought this is one of the worst times for us because we are there to actually help people and actually really improving their lives by providing them preventive services. But government's lockdown actually asked us to go home. However, when we went home, I came up with another idea of getting more doctors on board from their home because everyone's sitting home.
Yeah.
So we started having more doctors onboarded, which became fantastic for us because we were already having so much calls. Plus, now we have doctors of every dialect in every single town in Pakistan. So we've got a doctor in Sindh who can speak Sindhi.
Yeah.
We have a doctor in Punjab who can speak Punjabi. We have a doctor in KPK who can speak Pashto and the different dialects we have. So it actually improved our services because there were so many people in Pakistan who cannot even speak Urdu. They speak their local dialect language. And we were actually lacking. Sitting in Islamabad, we were only getting those doctors who can speak Urdu or English. But by working remote, we started hiring those doctors who actually live into those remote areas. And they got a platform to serve people. So we started onboarding them. So actually it became better for our company.
Yeah. Wow, that sounds amazing. But then it also sounds like you must have been very busy the last few months. So what does an average day look like for you? What are some of the things in your calendar? And
I mean, I think we got really busy, but the team I had is fantastic because our hiring policy. It is very important to know our hiring policy. So we are the first company in Pakistan. We decided that we should not hire people because of their education, except doctors, but we should hire people because of the skills. So there is no educational requirement for us except doctors. You can be a very good, skillful person. We can actually hire you.
What made
the
you
reason we got successful?
What brought you that idea? Why did you put in place that policy?
Right. So the reason I actually met one of the guys who were actually selling apples on the road. I actually came out of my car and started talking to him, and I was actually trying to get 1 kg of apples for my home because I was the only one. My wife was visiting UK at that time. So, and he started selling me in a very, very good manner. And he ended up selling me 5 kgs of apples. And I said to him, "You're a very good salesman. Why don't you find a job?" And he was like, "Well, nobody gives me a job because I'm not a literate person. I've never gone to school." And I said, "Well, I can't tell because you're very, very good in Urdu. You have impressed me." And I actually offered him a job. So he came to our call center, and he was the one who started picking up over 500 calls a day, working 12 hours, as compared to other people who were like MBAs from very good universities and graduates who were only picking 150 calls, 120 calls a day. So I thought, hold on, why is picking so many calls? And then I realized because he is the most needy one. He's the one who actually wanted to work. He was selling something on the road, and now he got a chance to sit down in a nice air-conditioned room. He wanted to really work hard to be a part of it.
Yeah.
So this is when I thought it's a good idea. Why not? Because the call center agents we require are the people who are not only serving as a doctor assistant, but now we've got over 43 different products. And I'll come back to you why we are doing so many products now. So there are other products we actually sell. For example, we sell health insurance, we sell life insurance.
Yeah.
So in every single day, we sell over 800,000 policies, which is massive. So I thought these people can actually work into those scenarios. So I started getting those people. Now, I asked him to bring more of his friend. I'll see and interview them, and he started doing this. And certainly, we started becoming a company who are actually hiring people who are not literate, but they've got great skills. And over time, we started an analysis that who is doing better work, whether people who are more needy, who don't want to leave you, because it comes with great advantages. The guy who's working here as an illiterate person, who is well trained, answering 5 times more calls than any other person, and he has no chance of living because he won't find this job anywhere else. Because everywhere he goes, the first question will be that, "What's your degree?" And he has no degrees and stuff.
Yeah.
So the retention for our model becomes really, really good. And then I started thinking, why not we can hire other people like this? So for example, the IT guys, and I know a few IT guys back in my young age, uh, who were just young as us, and we used to play cricket all day. And they were the ones sitting on, the old DOS computers and making few softwares and stuff.
Yeah.
And they have no degrees at all.
Yeah.
So I started contacting people like that. And we certainly have 20 people who had no real degrees with them, but they have created everything for us. They have created the best app. They have created our websites. WebDoc has now 4 other sister concerned companies. They've created everything for them. It is a small technology company we have now. And without even one super graduate from any super university.
Mm.
The important bit was I was trying. Initially, I thought it's a good idea to give job to people who have more skills. But then later on, I realized these people are the one who are actually more needy. They wanted to work hard. The only thing they need is an opportunity.
Yeah.
So if we
And
provide
they
them
might actually also understand your target audience very well because
yes,
it's similar.
absolutely.
But,
And then
sorry to interrupt that, but we have only 2 minutes left, and
okay,
yeah, it's going fast, and I have so many things I would love to ask. But the one thing I definitely want to ask you is what is your big dream? I mean, you've already achieved a lot. It sounds with WebDoc, but what's in what's your dream, or what's the dream for WebDoc?
I really want that the health services, I want to empower people with their health services, that every single person with a phone should have doctors in their pocket. So simply anybody in Pakistan having a phone in their hand should be able to actually connect to the doctors for the price they can afford. This is the big vision. We only hit 3% of it. There are, 7 million is only 3% of the population.
Wow.
It's a huge task left. We need to go really fast because technology is changing. Companies like you, Chaos, which are bringing featured and smartphones together for a very small price. Such companies can change the world. I mean, I'm certainly the developing world. They can change the entire face of it with these phones. So this is my dream. Everyone should have doctors in their pocket.
Oh, that's great. It's a great story, and it's really interesting to understand how you're running the company and how you've built it. I wish you a lot of luck. Last thing, if people want to follow you or read more about you, where should they go? Should they go to Twitter or LinkedIn or website for WebDoc?
Honestly speaking, I'm not a very social guy at this point of time because I spend most of my time, to build this company up. But
Yeah.
yes, I mean, Facebook. I think Facebook is the only thing I use. It's a bit of personal, but yes, I mean that is where I accept everyone to come over. So
All
it's
right.
my name Asim Alam on the Facebook, and it's a very old email of mine, asimzia59@yahoo.com. That's my
Okay.
Facebook ID. It's a pretty old one when I was young in school. So yes, certainly.
All
I
right.
think it's a lot to do in WebDoc. So I'm still thinking we're in a very initial stage. There's a huge work to do.
Okay. Great. We're gonna be following you, and I'm sure many other people after seeing this interview. Thanks so
Thank
much
you.
for joining us, Asim, and
Thank you.
thanks everybody who's been watching this. Thank you very much, and we'll see you next week in another episode of Enabling Tomorrow. Bye bye.